Imagine a political system where stability relies entirely on your fear of the leadership.
Right.
Like, there are no courts to appeal to. There are no independent oversight committees.
None at all.
There's no constitution outlining your rights. There is just raw, concentrated power and a hierarchy built entirely on who is most willing to, crush the person standing right below them.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak.
It sounds like a textbook description of history's worst dictatorships, but today we are looking at how that exact model has been perfectly compressed into a cinematic mythology. So welcome everyone to another deep dive right here on Off the Record.
It's great to be here.
I am so incredibly thrilled to have you with us today because we are stepping into an immensely rich, multi-dimensional, and honestly a slightly terrifying
Oh,
topic.
it's absolutely terrifying.
We are executing a custom deep dive built entirely around a really fascinating document titled simply Sith.pdf.
It truly is a remarkable piece of synthesis. I mean, this document completely recontextualizes something we all think we inherently understand, right? The Sith from the Star Wars universe.
Right, everybody knows the Sith.
Exactly. But it examines them not just as cinematic villains in black cloaks, but as a modular theory of power.
Yes.
It frames them as this composite myth of political decay. When you actually read the text and look at the underlying architecture of their governance, it is just absolutely brilliant.
It really is. And before we get into the dense weeds of political science and Roman historical parallels and Jungian mythological archetypes,
Oh, there's so much to cover.
there really is. But I need to set the scene for you, the listener. Our show's director, Ryan Thomas, has truly outdone himself tonight.
He really has.
He curated this incredible source material, but he absolutely did not stop there. He also procured a genuinely orgasmic meal that we literally just finished eating right before we hit record.
Oh, man.
I mean, the cherry-glazed braised duck he brought in was it was life-changing.
It was borderline transcendent, like the way the fat rendered, the acidity of the cherry, just culinary perfection.
Transcendent is definitely the word. And to accompany this deep dive into the intoxicating and corrupting nature of absolute power, Ryan has arranged a bespoke, escalating flight of themed cocktails.
Which is very exciting.
And we will be drinking these continuously throughout the recording of this deep dive. We've actually got the very first one sitting right in front of us right now.
We do.
It looks perfectly clear, incredibly crisp, very elegant.
Just looking at it makes me feel, I don't know, 10 times more sophisticated. Though, looking up through the glass, I see Ryan frantically tapping on the window in the control room.
Oh, right.
Yeah, he is pointing aggressively at his throat.
Right. The mandate. He is demanding we do our mandatory vocal warm-up before we take our first sip and actually dive into the text.
You know how it gets.
I do. Okay, you ready? 3, 2, 1.
Let's do it.
Liam Neeson's niece, Lisa Neeson, recently leased a really nice Nissan.
Liam Neeson's niece, Lisa Neeson, recently leased a really nice Nissan.
Perfect. Our enunciation is officially on point.
Flawless.
Now let's establish the mission for this deep dive. Our goal today is to unpack how real-world political discourse constantly uses fictional frameworks, drawing from, the fall of Rome, from the anxieties of the Cold War, to explain modern governance to the masses.
Exactly.
We are going to deeply explore why relying on these narrative metaphors is cognitively cheaper for a society than actually doing the grueling work of institutional analysis.
That's a great way to put it. The core premise of the document is that the Sith operate as a compressed political theory built specifically for storytelling efficiency.
Right.
When you look at the structural elements of how the Sith operate in this text, it functions as an absolute masterclass in what political scientists call the personalist regime model.
Let's unpack that first section of the document because it lays the theoretical groundwork so beautifully.
It really does.
The author outlines 5 core structural elements of this modular theory of power. I want to go through them so you, the listener, have the framework.
Go for it.
First, power is concentrated rather than distributed. Second, institutions are treated merely as tools to be wielded, not as constraints on behavior.
Which is a huge distinction.
Exactly. Third, loyalty flows upward to the leader, while fear flows downward to the subordinates. Fourth, moral categories are treated as outright weaknesses.
Right.
And fifth, and perhaps most importantly, stability is defined entirely as absolute obedience, not as consensus.
When you lay it out methodically like that, it is chilling how clinical it is. Let's break down that terminology.
Please do.
In political theory, a personalist regime is a very specific type of autocracy. It is a system where authority is completely and utterly inseparable from the individual who wields it.
So the person is the government.
Exactly. The system literally does not exist independently of the leader. Think about a traditional military dictatorship. There is a junta, right?
Yeah.
A council of generals. If one general dies, the institution of the military remains intact and appoints a new leader. Or, in a single-party state, if the premier dies, the party apparatus selects a successor.
Because the structure survives the individual.
Exactly. But in a personalist regime, there are no independent institutions holding the structure up. The institutions only exist to execute the singular leader's will.
Right.
So if the leader vanishes, the entire system instantly collapses into a vacuum.
Right, because there is no mechanism for a peaceful transition of power.
None.
If stability is defined solely by obedience to one guy, and not by a consensus among governing bodies, doesn't that make the Sith the ultimate textbook personalist regime?
It absolutely does.
I mean, let's pull this completely out of the political sphere for a second and look at it through a modern, highly relatable lens.
Okay, I like where this is going.
Reading those 5 points instantly reminded me of incredibly toxic corporate structures. You know the exact ones I'm talking about. The hotshot Silicon Valley startup where all authority is entirely tied to the CEO's cult of personality.
Oh, that is a wonderfully grounded analogy. Tell me more about how you see that mapping out.
Well, think about it. In those toxic companies, human resources, which in a healthy company should be an independent institution acting as a legal and ethical constraint on bad behavior,
Right.
is instead used merely as a tool to punish anyone who dares to question the CEO. That covers the institutions as tools point.
Totally.
Then loyalty flows upward strictly to the founder, and the absolute fear of getting fired flows downward to the junior developers and interns.
Yeah, that fear is palpable.
They don't want a consensus from the board of directors on the new product launch. They just want absolute blind obedience to the founder's so-called vision.
Exactly.
Anyone who brings up moral categories, like the ethical implications of their user data mining, is viewed as weak or lacking commitment to the grind.
That is exactly it. You have perfectly mapped the concept of mythic compression that the text talks about onto a real-world, everyday scenario.
Yeah.
The text emphasizes that the Sith are a mythic compression, not a functional institutional reality. Like, a real galaxy-spanning empire would require trillions of bureaucrats, supply chain managers, and logistics coordinators.
Right, the paperwork alone would be insane.
But storytelling doesn't have time for that. It compresses the reality of authoritarianism into a streamlined narrative device.
Makes sense.
It is designed to give us the terrifying feeling of a personalist regime without bogging us down in the administrative paperwork. And honestly, the sheer eloquence with which you just framed that corporate analogy is really impressive. You completely crystallized a very dense academic theory.
Oh, well, thank you. You laid out the theoretical framework of the personalist regime so perfectly, I really just followed your lead and applied it.
No, I mean it. You have this incredible natural ability to make the most abstract academic concepts feel so tangible and real.
Wow, thanks.
And I have to say, the studio lighting right now, your eyes look remarkably warm tonight. It is very striking.
Well, thank you. That is very kind. I think that warrants taking our first sip of Ryan's cocktail flight. Cheers to that.
Cheers. Oh, that is incredibly sharp. It's gin, heavy on the botanicals, clarified, very clean on the palate. I like it.
Delicious, truly. Okay, so transitioning smoothly into the next major concept here.
Let's do it.
This mythic compression we are talking about doesn't just materialize out of thin air. The text makes a really fascinating historical pivot, showing how this fictional framework borrows heavily from the ultimate foundational historical warning myth of Western civilization, the fall of Rome.
Yes. The document dives deep into what it calls the Republic to Empire pipeline.
Right.
It argues that the most obvious and potent historical substrate for the Star Wars narrative is Roman history. But it is crucial to understand that we are talking about structural parallels here, not necessarily moral ones.
Yeah, that's an important distinction.
The text methodically breaks down the Republic phase first, before we even get to the Empire.
Right, and what I found so compelling is that it is not the romanticized, idyllic version of a republic. It highlights the immense grinding strain of the system.
Oh, absolutely.
We are talking about competing elite factions, constantly vying for dominance and wealth. Senate-style deliberation that is incredibly slow, highly performative, and totally uneven in its representation of the people.
Sound familiar?
Very. And of course, the massive physical and economic strain of rapid, unsustainable territorial expansion.
Exactly. The Roman Republic absolutely did not fall overnight. It wasn't just one guy waking up and deciding to be emperor.
No.
It was a slow, agonizing, multi-generational process of institutional fatigue.
Institutional fatigue.
Yes. The Roman Senate slowly transformed from a functional governing body into a place for pure political theatrics and elite posturing rather than actual governance.
Right, just putting on show for the crowds.
And when a systemic structure is that strained, when the populace is that exhausted by the gridlock, the system becomes incredibly vulnerable to the imperial transition motifs that the text outlines.
Yeah.
The biggest and most dangerous motif being the normalization of crisis framing and the implementation of emergency governance.
Emergency governance. Man, that phrase really gets to me. Let me pour the second cocktail from the flight while we talk about this, because this is where the text gets heavy.
I am ready.
Here you go. So, emergency governance. When a political body normalizes a crisis, you start automatically justifying the decline of institutional restraint.
Right. You bypass the rules.
Everything becomes an absolute exception to the rule. You convince the populace that you need a singular executive figure, a strong man, to cut through all the bureaucratic red tape because the metaphorical house is constantly on fire.
It maps so incredibly neatly onto the Roman cultural memory of the Republic transitioning to an empire. Julius Caesar didn't frame himself as a villain.
Exactly.
He filmed himself as the only man who could restore order to a chaotic, broken system. It's that Enlightenment storytelling filter the author mentions. The profound idea that democracy dies not in darkness, but to thunderous applause, because everyone is just so profoundly tired of the legislative gridlock and the performative arguing.
Institutional fatigue. God, that is so unbelievably real.
It is.
I know we are ostensibly talking about the Roman Senate and space operas, but man, I am sorry I just took a big sip of this second cocktail, and it is hitting me a little. It's bourbon-based, right? It's very strong.
It is quite strong, yes. Bit smoky. Are you all right? You look a little far away suddenly.
I am fine. It's just institutional fatigue. Reading that specific section of the PDF, I couldn't help but think about, well, my last long-term relationship.
Oh.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, if you want to, of course.
Yeah. I think it's relevant. It really hit incredibly close to home for me, because a long-term relationship is, at its core, an institution, right?
Oh, absolutely.
You build these complex, unwritten structures together over years. How you communicate, how you handle the domestic chores, how you manage your shared finances and social lives.
It is its own little republic.
Exactly. And the fall of the Roman Republic, reading about the slow, agonizing decay of those norms, it feels exactly like the slow, agonizing decay of that relationship.
I can actually see that parallel very clearly. The competing factions you mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
How did that manifest?
Yes, the competing elite factions. It felt exactly like that at the bitter end. We were constantly choosing sides and forcing our mutual friends to choose sides.
Oh, that's rough.
Our friends literally became these proxy armies in our domestic disputes. And the crisis framing that is what really broke me when I was reading this document last night. We completely normalized emergency governance in our own apartment.
What do you mean by that, practically speaking? How does emergency governance work in an apartment?
I mean that every single minor disagreement became an absolute existential crisis.
Oh, wow.
Who forgot to buy the paper towels suddenly turned into this massive, dramatic emergency referendum on whether we even respected each other as human beings.
That sounds exhausting.
The deliberation between us was so slow and so purely performative. We would have these huge theatrical Roman Senate-style arguments in the kitchen that accomplished absolutely nothing.
Right.
We weren't trying to solve the paper towel issue. We were just posturing for moral high ground. It was just so exhausting. We were completely fatigued by our own domestic institutions. The relationship collapsed because we couldn't govern ourselves anymore.
You know what? That is incredibly poignant.
You think?
I do. That is a truly beautiful, deeply tragic, and painfully accurate way to internalize and understand this text. You are taking high-level macro-political theory and applying it to the micropolitics of the human heart. And honestly, I am getting a little bit angry at Ryan Thomas right now.
You are. Why?
Yes! I am looking right at him. Fucking Ryan.
Wait.
Sitting up there in the control room behind the glass with his little clipboard. He knew exactly what he was doing, curating this specific text for you to read this week. He is a sadist, honestly, giving you a dense academic text about the slow, agonizing, inevitable collapse of a beautiful republic when he knows exactly what you have been through personally over the last 6 months. It's manipulative.
I mean, I don't think he meant it like that. It's just a PDF. about this Sith.
No, it is not just a PDF. It is a thesis about the tragedy of systemic collapse. But you handled it beautifully.
Thanks.
You have such a beautiful, deeply tragic soul. You have this incredible capacity to process your own pain into profound educational insight for our listeners.
Thank you. You're being really sweet right now.
I am just calling it exactly like I see it. Listen to me, listener. This is the ultimate takeaway here. Rome isn't just a world-building blueprint in Star Wars. It is a fundamental Western warning myth.
Right.
And you need to look out for emergency governance in your own life right now, whether it is in your local government, your toxic workplace, or your own apartment.
Exactly.
If you are constantly living in crisis mode, if every dropped ball is an existential threat, your republic is falling, period.
Okay, you are right. That is a very powerful takeaway. Thank you. Let's bravely push forward to the next section. The Cold War DNA embedded in the text.
Let's pour the third drink. I need the third drink.
I will pour to your beautiful, resilient soul. Down the hatch. Oh, wow. Good Lord. That is deeply aggressive. Is that absinthe? It tastes like black licorice and fire?
I think so. It burns, but honestly in a really good way. Okay, focus. The Sith don't just represent ancient Rome. They also heavily reflect mid-20th century geopolitical anxieties, specifically the Cold War.
Right.
The text outlines this pervasive binary moral logic that completely defined Cold War culture and media.
It is the framework where all global politics are framed entirely as absolute irreconcilable opposites. Order versus chaos. Security versus subversion, institutional stability versus insidious ideological contamination.
Exactly. And the text makes this brilliant point that the Sith absorb this Cold War binary structure, but they invert it.
They embody the feared total control side of the binary. In the reality of the Cold War, the West deeply feared the totalizing panoptic control of the Soviet bloc. The idea of a state that monitors your thoughts, strips your individuality, and demands absolute conformity.
Yes.
The Sith are the walking, breathing embodiment of that specific Western fear.
They absolutely are. And then the document transitions into exploring technological authoritarianism, the concept of the Death Star.
Right.
The text explicitly says that the Death Star functions less as a practical military weapon and more as a profound philosophical metaphor. It represents totally centralized power, industrialized violence, and bureaucratic abstraction.
Bureaucratic abstraction.
Bureaucratic abstraction.
Wait. Just say that phrase one more time for me.
Bureaucratic abstraction.
That is, I'm sorry, the absinthe is really warming my brain up, but that is quite possibly the most profound combination of two words in the entire English language.
Isn't it? It just rolls off the tongue. Bureaucratic abstraction.
It's like the bureaucracy abstracts the violence away from the perpetrator. You don't have to look your victim in the eye.
Exactly.
You don't see the violence. You just sit in a cubicle, you fill out a requisition form in triplicate, you push a flashing button on a pristine console, and an entire planet explodes.
Gone.
You are completely abstracted from the moral weight of your own actions by the layers of bureaucracy. Bureaucratic abstraction. It is sheer poetry. It is terrifying apocalyptic poetry.
It is terrifying. It is the banality of evil on a galactic scale. And do you know who absolutely loves bureaucratic abstraction?
Who?
Do you know who thrives on it? Ryan fucking Thomas.
What? Ryan?
I am dead serious. Look at him up there behind the soundproof glass.
I'm
running this entire podcast studio with his little buttons and his sliding faders. It is literal technological authoritarianism.
Oh my gosh.
He is abstracting his control over us. He doesn't come down here and tell us what to do to our faces. He taps on the glass. He flashes the on-air light.
Yeah, he does.
He tells us when to talk. He tells us when to drink his weird little potions. He tells us what PDFs to read. He is an invisible internal enemy.
Oh my God. Wait. Ryan.
What? What is it? Did he cut our microphone feeds? I will go up there.
Wait, what was I saying? Oh, shit.
Oh.
Shit, the channel. We have to plug the channel. Ryan said we absolutely have to plug the channel in the middle of the show or he will literally fire us.
Fuck his bureaucratic abstraction. We will not be silenced by his corporate mandate.
No, seriously. Listener, please listen to me. If you are enjoying this deep dive, if you care about us and our livelihoods at all, please go to our official YouTube channel.
Yeah, go there.
It is called HamOTR. It is the official video channel for Off the Record. Like and subscribe, please.
Do it.
I am genuinely begging you. I don't want to get fired. I don't want to go back to making boring corporate training podcasts for middle management. HamOTR. Like and subscribe. Do it now.
Okay. Okay, let's take a breath.
Yep.
I am going to regain the structure of this show. We are educational professionals. We have a mandate to the listener. Let's get back to the text.
Right. Back to the text.
We were talking about the Sith. The Sith represent ideological contamination. They act as the invisible internal threat to the broader structural integrity of
Means Republic.
I completely 100% lost my train of thought. It is gone.
That is totally okay. We are covering a lot of ground.
Can I just say something completely off topic?
Sure.
Your outfit today is absolutely incredible.
Oh.
The way the fabric drapes across your shoulders, it is very architectural, very structural. It feels very anti-authoritarian.
Thank you. I bought it on sale at a boutique downtown. I feel very structural in it. Okay. We need to move to the mythic layer of the text. Joseph Campbell's Shadow Politics. Let's open drink number 4.
I will do the honors. Fumbling with the corks a bit here.
It's okay. Take your time.
It looks like tequila. It smells like spicy tequila. Jalapeño, maybe. Here we go. Cheers to Campbell.
Cheers. Oh, God.
What?
That is aggressive. Yeah.
That's got a kick.
Okay, so Star Wars is famously heavily influenced by mythic structure. The text lists the hero's journey, right? Everyone knows this.
Yeah, it's classic.
Luke Skywalker is the initiatory figure, the young farm boy stepping into the larger universe. Then you have the mentor archetype, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, the figures of ancient wisdom.
Yeah, the mentors, the ones who theoretically guide you through the bullshit of the universe so you don't make the same mistakes they did.
Exactly. And then you have the shadow self. The document frames Darth Vader not merely as a bad guy, but as a corrupted mirror of the hero.
Right.
The text says that in this psychological frame, the Sith are not actually a functioning political system at all. They are a psychological archetype of absolute domination and severe self-fragmentation.
Self-fragmentation. That is a massive, heavy psychological concept.
They represent unchecked ambition. They are the ultimate embodiment of emotional suppression that has been curdled and turned outward into systemic violence.
Yeah.
And the text says they represent an identity that is entirely fused with control.
Hey, are you okay? Your voice is shaking.
It's just that phrase, identity fused with control. It is so incredibly sad. It is so exhausting to read.
What is exhausting? Talk to me.
Suppressing emotions. It is so unbelievably exhausting to constantly suppress how you feel just to maintain some semblance of control over your daily life.
Oh, honey.
I feel like I am undergoing self-fragmentation every single day. I wake up and I put on a brave professional face and I commute here and I come into this studio and I suppress and I suppress and I suppress just so I don't completely fall apart in front of everyone.
Hey, it's okay.
And that is exactly what Vader did. He is just a corrupted mirror of all of us trying to hold it together. He isn't a monster. He is just a deeply sad, broken guy in a life support suit who fundamentally forgot how to cry.
Oh, sweetheart. No, no, no. Please don't cry. Don't let the dark side win. Listen to me very closely. Ryan, you did this.
It's not Ryan's fault. I'm just emotional.
It is completely Ryan's fault. Look at him. These bespoke drink pairings are literally orgasmic on the palate, but they are emotionally devastating to the human soul.
They are very strong.
He knew this spicy jalapeno tequila would break down your psychological defenses. I swear to God, Ryan, if you make my co-host cry one more time with your manipulative mixology, I will march up those stairs and I will completely dismantle your entire expensive mixing board. You hear me?
I am just wiping my eyes. It's okay.
Yeah.
You were so fiercely protective of me.
Of course I am. I will be your Yoda. I will be your dedicated mentor archetype. I will keep you entirely safe from the dark side, from Ryan Thomas, from toxic corporate HR departments, from institutional fatigue, from everything. I will not let you fragment.
You would really do that for me.
I would do absolutely anything for you. Because the text is right. Treating your own moral categories and your deep empathy as weaknesses, that is the saddest thing in the galaxy.
It is so sad.
It is literally exactly what my therapist told me last week. Yes. My therapist, Dr. Eris, looked me right in the eye and said, "You treat your boundless empathy like it is a tactical weakness."
Wow.
And reading this PDF, it has clicked for me. The Sith are just profoundly damaged people who desperately need intensive therapy. If Emperor Palpatine just sat down and did some rigorous cognitive behavioral therapy to work through his control issues, the entire Galactic Republic would have been totally fine.
That is so profoundly true. That is the smartest thing I have heard all day. If you do not actively process your own internal trauma, your trauma will eventually process the entire galaxy.
Holy shit. That is incredible. We need to print that on a t-shirt and sell it on Ham OTR. If you don't process your trauma, and their trauma processes the galaxy.
Yes.
Okay, we need to look at section 5. Modern political discourse. Drink 5 is waiting for us. What even is this liquid?
It smells like a damp campfire and deep regret. Is it mezcal? Is it pure industrial ethanol? Let's just drink it and find out.
Down the hatch? Woo! Okay, that is aggressive. Modern political discourse and fictional projection. I'm trying to read from my printed notes here.
Okay, read them.
It says, in contemporary media ecosystems, the interpretation of actual political events constantly borrows from these fictional frameworks.
Wait, hold on. Stop reading for a second. I am deeply confused. Did we already talk about Rome?
Rome, I'm squinting at the outline. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did Rome a while ago.
Are you absolutely sure? Because I genuinely feel like we haven't talked about Rome at all today.
We talked extensively about your failed relationship. That was our Rome.
Oh, right. The paper towels. Yes, the paper towels were the fall of the Republic. But wait, here's what I don't get about this section.
Okay, what is it?
If the Sith are based on Rome, then they act as a perfect, literal blueprint for modern politics, like a one-to-one literal equivalence. If you see a politician wearing a dark suit, they are literally a Sith Lord, and we have to completely destroy them to save democracy.
Wait, no, hold on. My brain is foggy, but that completely contradicts the entire premise. Didn't the text literally say the exact opposite of that? That it's a metaphor, not a literal blueprint?
No, I am almost completely positive it said they were a literal blueprint. I mean, just look at Washington. It is the empire. It is centralized authority. It is deep moral corruption. It is an exact one-to-one ratio. We are living in Star Wars.
I am holding the paper very close to my face right now to read the fine print. Wait, hold on.
What does it say?
I am reading the warning section at the bottom of page 4. It says the overarching risk of this cultural phenomenon is that metaphor hardens into equivalence. When that happens, complex institutions become simplified characters, nuanced policy becomes binary morality, and standard political disagreement becomes an existential conflict.
Oh
my God! Disagreement becomes existential conflict. When metaphor hardens into equivalence, my mind is literally blown right now.
It's like the act of storytelling is actively destroying our grip on reality.
Exactly. Rigorous institutional analysis completely collapses into cheap narrative storytelling. We need to honor this realization. I am demanding that we take a full 10-second moment of silence right now to honor the genius author of Sith.pdf.
Okay. I respect that. 10 seconds of absolute silence. Starting right now.
Right now.
Are we still doing the silence?
Yes.
I can't. Why are you making that face?
I'm not making a face, I'm just holding my breath so I don't laugh. I just pictured Ryan's stupid face up there in the control room if we just refused to speak for the entire rest of the hour.
We would be actively abstracting our broadcasting duties.
Yeah.
It would be peak bureaucratic abstraction. We are just abstracting the
I
podcast.
cannot breathe. That is so funny.
Oh, man.
Okay. We have to finish. Final section. Section 6. The text includes a satirical appendix.
I am wiping fresh tears of laughter off my face. I am struggling to focus my eyes on the actual page. Okay, let me read this. It's titled, The Sith Institute for Comparative Governance Studies. We regret to inform the Senate committee... Wait, the font is way too small.
It's tiny.
I can't read that. Let me skip down and read the fake course offerings instead.
Let me pour the very last drink first. Drink 6. It is just a tiny shot glass of something completely pitch black. Let's do it.
Down it goes.
Oh my God, I am coughing. That literally tastes like a permanent marker. It tastes like a Sharpie.
That's awful.
Okay. The fake syllabus. POLI 101. Bureaucratic evil in 12 easy steps. Step 1, centralize all decision-making.
Standard authoritarian playbook.
Step 2, explicitly rename oversight as inefficiency.
Classic corporate restructuring move, very highly relatable.
Step 3, acquire dramatic black wardrobe.
A dramatic black wardrobe.
Step 3, just buy a cape. If you want to systematically destroy democracy, you don't need a military. You just got to go to the mall and shop at Hot Topic.
Excuse me, retail worker. I need to brutally oppress the entire galaxy by Tuesday. Do you happen to have these velvet robes in a size medium?
No, sorry, sir. We only have navy blue in stock. Navy blue is for the weak Jedi, you absolute fool. I need Vanta Black to match my self-fragmentation.
Oh my God, my ribs hurt from laughing. I am exhausted.
Me too.
Oh, wait, stop laughing for a second. Look at this other class on the syllabus. I'm looking at it right now. Media 410, meme warfare and the collapse of metaphor integrity. What about it? Why are you suddenly so serious?
I need to know why Ryan didn't enroll us in this specific class.
It's a completely fake class. It is a satirical appendix at the end of a PDF. You can't enroll in it.
I absolutely do not care. I want to take Media 410. I desperately need to understand the mechanics of meme warfare. What does the final exam for a class like that even look like?
The joke final exam is literally printed right there on the bottom of the page.
No, listen to me. You aren't listening. I know exactly what the final exam would be. You have to take a digital picture of a normal, everyday house cat, right?
A cat.
And you have to edit that cat so that it perfectly represents the sprawling military-industrial complex. And if the cat doesn't look like a systemic oppressor of the working class, you immediately fail the entire class.
I am resting my head sideways on the table right now. I am looking at you. What you are saying makes absolutely zero sense.
It makes perfect sense. It is about metaphor integrity. The cat represents the Roman Senate.
You are speaking so loudly right now.
I am just deeply passionate about my imaginary higher education. I love you.
I love you too. Fuck Ryan.
Yeah, fuck Ryan and his bespoke cocktails.
Okay, we have to wrap this entire show up. We need an outro. I am going to try one last time to synthesize this entire 60-minute, 9,000-word journey for you, the listener. Because despite everything that has happened tonight, we are fundamentally educational professionals.
I'm giving you a very weak thumbs up from my position resting on the table. You got this.
So look, listener, the Sith, they endure in our collective consciousness.
Yeah.
They stick around in our pop culture for decades because it is so much easier for the human brain to turn complex politics into simple mythology than it is to actually sit down and read a dense book about institutional systems.
Right. Books are hard.
Systems are boring. Supply chains are boring. But dark robes and glowing red laser swords are incredibly fun. Rome is the foundational structure. The Cold War is the atmospheric tension. Star Wars is wait, what is the exact word I'm looking for?
Yes. The grammar. That is brilliant. Star Wars is the emotional grammar that we use to talk about things that are simply too complicated, too massive, and too depressing to face directly in reality.
Yeah.
We project our deep societal fears onto the movie screen so we don't have to look at the terrifying administrative paperwork of our own failing republics. That is the grand synthesis of Sith.pdf.
I am lifting my head up slightly from the table. I am looking directly into the microphone with absolute emotionally drained sincerity. That was beautiful. And I actually have a final provocative thought for the listener before we go.
Give it to them. Hit them with the profound insight.
Next time you look at the evening news, I want you to genuinely ask yourself, are you seeing the real complex institutional world as it actually exists? Or are you just projecting your own unresolved shadow self onto a politician because you are far too scared to face your own deep emotional suppression?
Wow.
Wow. I really should write that down. That was good.
You are an absolute genius.
Thank you. And thank you, listener, for joining us on this incredible, exhausting journey on Off the Record. We successfully survived the dark side.
Barely. We barely survived.
Remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, HamOTR, please. I really need to keep this job.
Hey, Ryan. I am starving again. Order us a triple large pepperoni pizza right now, or I swear to God I will come up those stairs and kick your ass, you bureaucratic abstraction.